Good morning, Tallinn. Yeah. Oh, hey, all right. All right. I heard you were reserved people, but that is quite positive. How to engage anyone. Oh, by the way, please follow me on Instagram. There's a good example of engagement right there. Is if you don't ask, you don't get, ladies and gentlemen. What type of engagement do you want? What type of engagement do you think is best? Let's do a quick quiz. Are you ready for a quiz? Of course you are. Of course you are. Right. I'm going to give you 4 pictures. You have to pick which type of engagement you think is best or that you want. All right, ready? We will vote at the end. So first of all, I'll show you the 4, then we will vote. Number 1 is marital engagement. Maybe you would like someone to put a ring on it. The second is likes, digital engagement, you know, bing. The third type of engagement is say no more. I am pumped for Rise of Skywalker next month. And the final type of engagement is when you are occupied in the John, as we like to say. Hands up, who would like marital engagement in the room? You think that's the best type of engagement? Raise your hands, nice and high, please. Oh, a few people, yeah, all right. Good, good, marriage is still alive, even in Estonia. Excellent. Who thinks that likes the best type of engagement? Raise your hand high and say, I like it. Ding! Yeah, a few people, okay, we've got a few people down here, a few people. Who thinks toilet engagement is the best? Please, raise your hand. Wowza. Okay, I've given this talk across 5 continents, and normally the only person who puts their hand up at this is one funny man who thinks he's the Joker. But clearly Estonians, you like to clear out your bowels. That's a beautiful thing. Finally, just don't do it while I'm talking, please. Finally, who thinks Star Wars level engagement is the best? Yes. Pretend your arms are lightsaber. Yeah. Of course, Star Wars is what we all want. Why do we want Star Wars level of engagement? Because when people are this engaged in something, we know it is substantial. We know that they are so deeply bonded to what we're doing that they would sooner leave their spouse than leave their favorite football team. Or they would weather any cold to see their favorite football team. And there's some fantastic research around highly engaged people from Gallup. People who are highly engaged organizations outperform the average by 3.5, a factor of 3.5. You see some nice stats from Rosetta there. But I mean, ultimately, you know, highly engaged is kind of the stuff that, you know, drives behaviors like this, right? This, everybody, is a picture of sheep. You get it? No. These are thoroughly engaged people. Although it's interesting looking at these Apple fans. I'm an Apple user. I don't know if I'm so much of an Apple fanboy. It's interesting though thinking about Apple because of course the difference between an iPhone and a Galaxy is actually today the feature set is largely irrelevant. In fact, does anyone know who makes the screens for the Apple phones? Samsung. Samsung. Thank you. Yes, someone's like, really? I know. Samsung. We all know, buddy. It was just call and response. All right. And of course, also the ecosystems are largely the same, right? You got Apple Pay, you got Google Pay, and such and so forth. And their stores are also really similar. Here on the left, we have an Apple store, and here on the right, we have a copy of an Apple store. But it turns out that actually the difference is whose tattoo would you rather get? This is really what it comes down to, is do you see yourself as someone who wants to have an apple tattooed on you or somebody who wants to have that tattooed on you? Interestingly, there's no other photos of people who want to get Samsung tattoos on them, apart from this little girl that got a transfer sticker because it had Hello Kitty on. And the reason why I think nobody wants to have a picture of, have a tattoo of Samsung is nobody wants to have a microwave brand tattooed on their body. Although people will do stuff like this. To try and redeem something. Such is their level of engagement, they will try to brand one product as another. And of course, it's not just with, yeah. I feel like this is more of a stand-up routine than a talk right now. This is somebody who tattooed a pair of Nike Air Jordans onto his feet. Jordan 5s, I believe they are. Interestingly enough, Nike Air Jordans aren't necessarily even a good basketball shoe. In the NBA, I think hardly anybody wears them, but they've got cool brand appeal. People are very engaged with the brand. The same thing that people do with Harley Davidson tattoos, of course, people love it. Inspire Fitness did this. Unfortunately, they should have considered that their logo looks like a swastika. I mean, if you do well, maybe you too could make it onto this man's body. But the question is, of course, how do we get to that deep level of engagement, right? That's what all of us here are thinking. And actually, it all starts with a like. It all does start with that like. Here is Adam and Eve. And Adam is talking with Eve, and Adam is kind of wanting to create a conversational line with Eve. He wants to engage her in a conversation, because this is where all engagement begins, the humble conversation. And so he goes, right, okay, I'm going to do that British thing of starting to talk about the weather. Hey, Eve, what do you think of the weather today? Well, she's not really interested in talking about the weather, so he's like, damn it, okay, so he tries again. Hey, Eve, and now he goes a little bit crazy. Hey, Eve, you like Shakespeare? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. He's certain he's got it in the bag now. No, she felt he was trying too hard, and he's like, oh, damn it, you know what, Eve, sorry, I'm just a joker. In fact, I'm just like that joker in that film, The Joker. Did you see that film? She's like, oh yeah, I love that film. Ding! And now, what have they found? They found commonality. This is how conversation goes, is we are all searching for commonality. Every conversation begins with a question, and we are looking for someone to say, yes, I connect to that. It's very much like the process of scattering seeds. Is when a farmer scatters seeds, they never know which seed is definitely going to grow and which one won't. It's the same in life. You never know when you meet somebody if that person's going to become a lifelong friend or someone that's just a passing acquaintance. You never know. It's like anybody here in business will know. There are times when there is a deal that you think is certain to happen and it doesn't happen. And then out of nowhere, a deal happens that you never thought would happen. Am I right? That's the way. Ain't that the truth? And it sucks, but it's true. And this is life. Life is continually scattering out all these possibilities and options to us. The trouble is that with getting engagement at this lowest level of a like, of getting your foot in the door, it's just so competitive out there. Now, what happens, of course, is our brain is being flooded with so many insights on a daily basis that it does a very good job of creating a pattern, right? A pattern of expectation. Stuff comes in, our thalamus uses our limbic brain to match it to our memories and to the context that we're in. It builds expectation. Within that expectation, we expect things to be normal. So this room is a bit darker, it's lighter up here, we expect that's normal. And so how do we get into someone's brain in the first place? Well, the rule is you've got to puncture the pattern. Where are my workshop people at? What are you going to do, people? You've got to puncture the pattern. Thank you. You still remember, right? You've got to be the black sheep. You need to be the purple cow. Or as one guy in my city he is Sir Fix-a-Lock. And he gets all the locksmith business in the city because people remember him. They don't remember the name of Jimmy Bob's lock-fixing business, but they remember Sir Fix-a-Lock. And when he goes to networking events, he dresses up like a knight. This is what I call schema hacking. It's taking an existing idea in someone's mind, but then adding a slight twist to it so that you can get into someone's mind. Now, this doesn't have to be the way that you do it. This is the way that I do it. These are my engagement puns. Where's my favorite? Oh yeah, engage against the machine. And throughout the course of today, I will be sticking stickers on you with these puns on. So, scattering is about trying to get something into the mind. And the moment that somebody responds and they go, yes, I have commonality, then we find that they gather. Right? There's some sense of what I have scattered as a seed. Now I can gather some fruit from it. And this is, whereas scattering is very much about the brain, gathering very much is about a physical thing. It's about that moment of focus. It is actually very much like toilet engagement, in the sense of that when you go into a toilet and you lock the door, that cubicle is now in sole use for one person. It can't be used by anybody else. And when we are engaged at this second level of gathering, our bodies lock into this kind of mode of exclusivity. You know when you're having a conversation with someone and then suddenly like you click and like you forget about everything else that's going on and time just flies by? It's flow, right? Now, when I first began to learn the power of this, it was from a book that I read, and the book said this. It said, because actually I used to be a very uncomfortable, socially awkward person, actually. And I read a book, and the book said that the way to build instant rapport to people is to talk to anyone about their favorite subject, which is, of course, themselves. But I find that a little bit, I don't know, cynical. I don't think that the best way to build rapport is to speak to people about themselves, so I upgraded it to, I think it's talk to people about what you share in common, right? The best connections are when you find something in common, and that's indeed what every marketing message is trying to do. What every app is trying to do is, do we have something in common and can we connect over it? It's that moment when the wheat now grows, or the moment when we are focused and we are engaged. In fact, it's moments like these. We are so engaged in the moment, we are so gathered that our bodies are just highly aroused by moments like this. I mean, awesome. It's what happened to this guy here, actually. Can anyone guess what he's doing, by the way? No, it's not Instagram. No, he's not taking a selfie. Pokemon, yes, well done, lady who shouted it out from the back. Yes, he is playing Pokemon. So engrossed is he in the moment. And of course, this is the thing, is gathering, getting this middle level of engagement where we are physically aroused and focused on something is actually the pinnacle of app design. We see it here in Instagram. The number of different cues within one screen, all of which are prompting us with motion, with different size images, with signs and symbols, with notifications and prompts, with things that look like you want to touch them because they look like they have some sense of control or interaction potential. These things are highly, highly engaging. And the rule is, if you want to get people to go from low engagement to high engagement, you have to tie up on two things, the sensational and the social. The sensational are those things which arouse our senses beyond what is the pattern. They puncture the pattern by being more than what we experience in our day-to-day. And the second thing they do is they build on the social. There's a very simple reason for this. Is the sensational is what opens the door to the neurotransmitters in our brain. What is sensational stirs the neurotransmitters in our brain that opens the door for the part of our brain which is associated with openness and memory. So right now, you are more likely to remember something because this room is stirring a sense of awe, and we are all here, and we're surrounded by people, and because our senses are aroused, and because I'm being quite loud and I've made you laugh, you are now more open to my ideas. However, if this room was smaller and I spoke in a dry and monotonous voice, like your university lecturers, not at Tallinn University, of course, other universities, and I spoke like the Terminator. I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Maybe the ideas would not take, but I'm making you laugh. And right now, all of you, what's happening is adrenaline in the brain because your senses are being aroused. Your evolutionary brain is saying something new is going on here that I'm not used to. Let me pay attention so that I might learn and I might use this information for survival. And now the part to do with you that is open and to do with receiving new ideas is now open. And the second part, that opens the door, but then is the social that really gets us deeply engaged. The social, the ability for us to connect to other people around these new ideas and these new bonds that are presented to us. And of course, right now, this room full of people, the oxytocin is flowing. So any ideas that we might present are now wrapped up around this lovely sense of connection. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So we talked about scattering and gathering, but we can't just leave it there. You can scatter in a conversation, you can scatter the message of your app, you can scatter an idea to your team. You then see who gathers, who has commonality around it, who has commonality in your team, who has commonality with your app, who has commonality in this event today. But to leave it here would be a shame. There is a third stage, and of course it rhymes, because if it rhymes, it must be true. It's the matter phase. Scatter, gather, matter. Indeed, that's what these people here are doing. They are so engaged. Star Wars matters to them. It matters very deeply, not just to their mind, not just to their body, but to their heart, to their subconscious mind, essentially. Not the cognitive brain, not the conscious brain that's processing information like all of ours is now. I'm talking about the deep part of your brain, the limbic system that has those deep familiar bonds. That's what's happening here. Is both physical means, but also psychological meaning are provided for these people. Brands like Apple, brands that we love, they provide us with physical means that enable us to do new things, but they also provide us with a sense of psychological meaning. So in that sense, actually, being engaged is a lot like Star Wars. We tie into these relationships, and that actually is kind of the point here, is that if you just want to engage the mind, then, well, you use your mind. But if you want to engage the heart, you need to use your heart. And maybe as technology people, we don't like the idea of talking about our hearts. Maybe we like the idea of business being, I don't know, not too personal. As if somehow the idea is that personal is the opposite of professional. But it's not. The opposite of professional is unprofessional. Like me getting naked on stage right now. That's a joke. That would be unprofessional. I'm not going to do that. I think you're all silent because you're like, no, dear Lord, no. No, I will not do that. That would be unprofessional. But I can be personal and professional. Right? We could be playful in life. I mean, maybe not this playful. But if life is a conversation, then I just have a question, which is, why so serious? Like, why? Why do we have to be so serious? So I can't help it. Why do we have to be so serious all the time? We can chill out. It's the things that are most human that engage us, because this is my big point, really, is that the way that people engage with anything is the way they engage with people. The process of building a relationship, whether it's with a person, whether it's with a team, a company, an idea, a brand, whatever it might be, the process is the same. We scatter out our message. We gather when we find commonality, and we matter by making something that provides physical means and psychological meaning. And I would invite all of you to pop to engagementassessment.me, where you can take a free test to find out how well you scatter, you gather, and you matter. And this is the point where everyone's phones go up and they start taking photos. I'm still impressed that so many of you loved the toilet engagement. That really is just... Finally, though, for leaders, I'm very, very pleased, and I'd just like to invite you, if you're a leader and you need to get people engaged in your team, I would like to invite you just to check out this one thing. I won't talk long about it, but 6 weeks to help you get people engaged in a change in your organization. Take a quick snap. So, what have we learned today? We've learned that you need to scatter the seeds of your message. Gather when you find commonality. Matter by making something that makes a difference. Quick pop quiz. If you scatter seeds and you begin to get wheat, what are you going to do with that wheat to make it matter? Turn it into? Thank you. Not just bread, beer. Right? And that will be my parting lesson for you. And in the words of Jean-Luc Picard, engage. Thank you.
Thank you for making life so much easier for...
By finishing early. Yes, I did that on purpose.
You still want to continue?
Oh no, we're done. I'm so good that I've caught up the schedule, everyone.
No, I was more like wanting to thank you not for finishing early, but for making the engagement easier for everybody following you.
Oh wow! Yeah. Well, yeah. Interestingly enough, just a little thing is yesterday I ran my workshop, and at the beginning of the day I wrote up on the big whiteboard my Instagram, engaging Scott, and I think like 2 people added me. And then at one point in the workshop I said, can everybody please, and I pointed to it, I said, that's my Instagram. And then later on I said, could everybody please add me? And it's just a really simple thing is, you need to ask very often to get engagement. It's just simple, but...
Yeah, this was probably also the same thing with the ring-based engagement, I think. The one which goes on the finger.
Sorry.
To get the girl engaged, you need to ask first, usually.
I'm engaged.
Or have a... Okay, we have, thanks to you, some time for questions. And with the questions, there are these speak boxes which can be thrown around. So if you have a question, make yourself seen and wave your hand so somebody can hit you with a soft microphone. Do we see anybody asking a question, or do I need to get to my questions? More engagement, people. Okay, we need to teach them to be more engaged.
No, I think they're very engaged. They just, I've made the mistake of answering every possible question they could ever have.
No. I think there was one question you didn't answer, and because I wrote it down and I was exactly checking to answer that or not. I know you're actually teaching engagement also in organizations.
Yes.
And let's imagine I'm the boss who is also very introverted, like you told you were initially introverted, and you need to teach me and coach me to be more engaging, and I'm just kind of here in the corner of the stage. And how do you start coaching me to be more engaging?
So, secret, I'm an introvert.
So am I.
All of this right now is a performance. And I perform because I have to have the humility to do what I don't want to do in order to help people get what they need. And as leaders, there are 2 things that will make you lead. One is ego, because you're desperate for it. The other is humility, because you don't want to, but you know you need to. And so I would speak to a leader such as yourself and say, I understand that that's not your style, but I want to begin with the mindset that you need to have the humility to step forward, because we're looking to you and we want to follow you. You don't have to not be you. You can be you, but you will need to speak up. You will need to scatter. You will need to ask, because by and large, people are responsive. People don't take the initiative. I used to be a church pastor, a priest, minister, which generally people laugh at, because I like whiskey. And every Sunday, people would come, and of course, I was an evangelical minister, so I was hoping that people would become Christians. That was my mission in life. I'm not a minister anymore, but at that point in my life, that's what I was into. And every Sunday, I was hoping that people would come forward and say, Scott, I loved your sermon. I'd like to become a Christian. But they never did. So then one Sunday, I said, at the end of my sermon, I said, if you want to become a Christian today, would you please raise your hand? And a bunch of hands got raised in the air. And I was like, what is this? You've been coming for months and you've never come forward. And now that I ask you to raise your hand, you raise your hand. And what it is even though people were prepared to make a huge decision, such as committing their life and therefore their worldview to a religion, they still needed to be asked to do it. It's rare that people take initiative in life. By and large, people respond. People respond. And so a leader's job is to be the one that asks the question that people can respond to.
Okay, and so the art of becoming a better engager is probably also to ask questions and then probably listen to the answers.
Yes.
Any questions from the audience? There is one brave question. Can I get a microphone?
So get my water.
Mic there to the red lady. Lady in red, sorry. Is
Just a quick question. What was the book you referred to?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
What was the book you referred to in your slides? The book. You said there was a book. Yeah.
It's called The Naked Leader by David Taylor.
Okay, thanks.
Any follow-up questions? Yeah, there is one back there.
Hi. I had a question background, but you're like unknowingly answer all the questions before they're asked. So.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I have a question. So I feel that all of the products and the brands that we're consuming are competing for our attention.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of the day, you get home, you're so engaged, you just want to lay down and fall asleep. What do you think, how to handle this competition and whether that constant Star Wars level engagement, what it's doing to us?
Well, yes, every day things are competing for our attention. Very little competes for our affection. Okay? Attention, action, and affection. Scatter, gather, matter, right? You've got these three levels. Lots of stuff like Times Square is competing for our attention. And our brain filters out most of it because our brain is fantastic at working out what the pattern is. And it goes, oh, that's just part of the pattern. Some things puncture through the pattern and they want our action. Some things use that action to go very deep and get our affection. Very few things have our affection. So the rule for us, if we want to minimize those things that are seeking to engage us, is to adopt the idea of being an essentialist. There's a fantastic book by Greg McKeown called Essentialism. One of the best books ever written, I think. And in this book, he advocates for the idea of being an essentialist. And basically the idea is it's the meaningful pursuit of less. Now, sadly, we're in a place where because so few things are good at getting our affection, they overcompensate by trying to get more of our attention. They lack quality, so they go for quantity. So we're now in a state where society is very shallow and there's very little that's deep. Because people don't know how to be deep anymore. Because deep is hard, and it's work. It takes something to get into the heart. So they just go shallow, shallow, shallow. So every day we're just surrounded by lots of shallow shit. And very occasionally, something gets to go deep. So turn up your filters, and the things that do get your affection, push into those, cherish them. They're the things that life is made of.
Thanks.
Sorry for swearing, I just feel strongly about
there is one hand, and this will be last question, and then we'll have to move on.
Thank you for the great presentation. And I was wondering, how do you tell apart true engagement from fake engagement? Because often people will engage out of social pressure or just to seem agreeable, and actually it's not real engagement.
Well, it is real engagement. They are engaging. They're engaging with their mind. They might be engaging with their body, but they're probably not engaging with their heart, right? So it is real engagement. It's just shallower and it's not deeper. And you know because they will engage with you and then they will disappear and they won't come back. So that would be the difference. Nothing wrong with social pressure because it's how we live our lives. To say that social pressure is bad, it's just the degree to the amount of it is bad. So if you're using it and you're getting lots of activity because of social pressure, you just have to realize that you probably are using a bit of a shallower technique because at the end, many of them might just fade away and you've not been able to get into their affection, right? So you need to evaluate your techniques then.
Okay, thank you. And there is always a present. Maybe you can show also. There are some kind of Estonian design items. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And we shall move on to the next presentation.